We've been working with several simple shapes and have some idea about light. While it's fun to use them, it's time to start putting them together. Let's make a pair to understand how to use shapes effectively. So we're going to start with our usual charcoal setup. So the brush, the blend, and the eraser are all set to charcoal. And we have some dark color for our color. All right. And I'm going to start with a small brush whisk to start. So I'm just going to go down to 1%. And we'll make it a high opacity for now. And what I'm going to do is just make a pair. A pair is really two circles that you've connected together. And that becomes two spheres that you've connected together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out a direction I want this to be. Okay, and so I sometimes call this an action line. It's not as much true for inanimate objects, but as we get into live stuff, you'll find out about this thing called an action line, which gives you a reference point of how the figure is moving. But we'll use this as our action line, and that gives us a good way to know how I'm going to align these things. So I'm going to put a big circle under there for my larger sphere, and then I'm going to make a smaller sphere on top of that like this. That's the beginning of our pair. Now what I'll do is I'll start connecting these guys together. So I'm just going to make an arc. And I'll just go back and forth just like I did with straight lines. I'm going to do the same thing with a curved line. And I'll do that on both sides. And I start where it's got the point to the circle, the farthest point to the circle, to the other farthest point to the circle. And then I can sweep around like this so that I get the outside, okay? And that makes me a pair. And I could actually go to a tip here if I want to. So I can do like a cone. And a cone is nothing more than a cylinder that's got a point to it at the top instead of two equal sides. But that sort of gets you the idea. And so I can make something that looks like this. I could round that if I want, depending on what I want to do. And that gets me my basic shape. That's the basic structure. I can now look at a pair and say, okay, that's really two spheres that have been joined together somehow. That's what you've got to really start doing. Once you do that, then you're going to figure out where your light is going to come from. And I'm going to make it come from this side over here for this one. And then once I do that, I use the same formula I used in a previous video on light and shadow to start putting this together. So I'm going to go to let's use a 50% opacity and a little higher brush size. And I'm going to start tracing. I'm actually going to go a little higher than that. And I'm just going to start tracing the outside of this one right here to say, okay, that is my light side. And then I'll bring up the opacity and go along that other side and say, that's my dark side. Okay. And I'm probably going to have a cast shadow here, so I'll just start putting that in too, just to say, oh, there it is. Okay, so now I've got my cast shadow in there. Then I can go to around 40% or something like that. Actually, a little less. Let's go 30%. And put in the midtones. Okay. And once I do that, go to my eraser. I'll do a 75% eraser here and start putting in my light. Like that. And given where this is hitting, I'm going to get more light in here. Remember, these are still spheres. So they're still going to have partially sphere-shaped things going on here. So you're going to get more texture that way if you're following each one of these spheres around as you put them together, and then the outside is going to just be continuous like that. And do the same thing back here with too high size. And this bottom here is probably going to be darker. And then once I've got that figured out, and there we go, I can start doing some blending. Do a 6%. And just start blending all that together. And see how it looks. And this is a lot like playing with clay when you get to this point, because you're just moving the stuff around. And there we go. That's looking pretty good. Okay. And let's see what we got. Now, you'll notice I got in the middle there, it looks like it's got a divot, so I got to blend this out a bit more. And I'm just going to make sweeps like that so I can get it a little better. And maybe sweeps back out the other direction to get the dark in there. And I might want to put more light in some places, so I'm going to go in here a little deeper, grab the eraser, and start adding more light on those edges, like so, and blend that up. Okay. And I got a little bit that I've stuck out here. You can also clean up some of your edges with an eraser, which is, of course, what a lot of people use erasers for, instead of just doing things with light like we're doing. And again, I've got a bit of a problem here, so I'm going to actually add a little more light in here, because it looks like it's got a bit of a divot there. And then blend that back in. And you'll start noticing those kinds of divots and things as you blend things. And so just, you can go to smaller brushes will also help with this. Is if I go down in my brush sizes, those will be able to blend those with a little more detail, and so they don't leave those marks as much. As you see me doing, make sure while you're doing this, zoom out, because you'll see it better as an out zoom like this, and then zoom in to get those details figured out, and keep going back and forth like this. Okay. I'm going to do one more thing I got down here. We got some things. And you may notice that I'm actually going to leave this, because I'm going to talk about something else that starts to show up. Is sometimes you may get, or cast reflection. We've talked about cast shadows. This is a cast light coming from the table itself. And that might start to give some illumination to the object. So I'm going to leave that one there. I'm just going to blend the rest of this shadow up a bit. And do one more thing up here. And I don't like this tip, so I'm going to blend that out. Okay, like that. And I'm going to darken that out later anyway. And I'm going to go to a high opacity on my brush, bring it down to about 3%, and we need a stem. Okay, and again, this is sort of going to be like a divot in here, so we will have this thing happen where the light side will have some dark, and the dark side will have some light, because this is an indentation. And you can start doing some blending on that too, and that's going to be a small blend here. So, and that just gets into here. And I might even have, if I go all the way down, get my eraser, I might even have a little bit of a reflection on the pear itself. So we got something like that. Now this is looking a little too sharp. You can see this is an example of having sharp stuff going on that you would want on a corner, but it's not going to work on a pear. So I'm going to do some more blending here to blend that out. And these edges need some serious blending, like so. And there you go. All right, and there you go. You have a pear. You can continue to do some things here. I can come out of the blend here, put some more blend on this, and blend it all the way out so I get rid of my arrow. Make that a darker blend. Some people will actually go for dark, really get that light in there. So you may get stuff like this, and then like that. And then you can blend that up too, so you can really see that. Okay, and so there you go. You have yourself a pear. You can shape this as much as you want. that's pretty much it. It's an example of constructing things from the primary objects that we have, from the sphere in this case. We did 2 spheres, but it could be things like cylinders, or it can be things like boxes. And you can put all 3 of these together in lots of different ways. And as you merge them together, you get most objects that you're going to be seeing. So here's your practice. Go ahead and make some pairs and see what else you can make. Start combining other objects together. We'll be doing another object combination lesson next, so you'll get another set of practice with that one. But congratulations, you've actually drawn something that looks like something real. Go ahead, if you want to send me your pairs. As usual, you can tweet me at Steve_Lipton. Anything you want to share or to ask a question with the hashtag ExploreProcreate. If you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel for more videos in this series and some of my other tutorials. You'll find drawing resources at the website, and all of that will be in the links in the description. So now go out and create another beautiful thing.